Hey everyone, happy April. My name is Claire McLean. I'm a physical therapist here at Rogue Physical Therapy and Wellness, and I'm going to be sharing our research article highlight of the month. April is Parkinson's Awareness Month, so we'll be doing extra things to get the word out. The more people who understand what Parkinson's is, what it means, what can be done about it, how people can live healthy lives, the better. If you're living with Parkinson's, though, every month is Parkinson's Awareness Month. And in terms of our research article, I've picked one of the greats. It's another article that was published a while ago, but just because it was published a while ago doesn't mean that everybody knows about it or what the research said or has tried implementing this into their daily life. So I'm going to pull up, I'm going to share. I'm going to open the internet, and then I'm going to share my screen and show as I search for this article. This is one that is available free full text. I will share the link, but I just wanted to show pulling up the article and clicking to see if it's available free full text. And this is something you could do for other articles too. So the name of the article we're going to talk about this month is Forced Not Voluntary Exercise Improves Motor Function in Parkinson's Disease Patients. This is it right here. It is by Angela Ridgel, Jared Vitek, and Jay Alberts. Lots of great research has come out of their lab. It was published back in 2019. So this is the 15-year anniversary coming up later this, or no, 16-year anniversary coming up later this year. So what is said about research is that it takes on average 17 years for something to be published and become standard of practice. And although many more people who have Parkinson's are exercising, many more neurologists are encouraging people to exercise. There's been hundreds of research studies that have been published since this one was. I would argue that we are still not in a place where this is a standard of practice. People are not being told what the research says in terms of the intensity level that you need to work, or if there's specifics like on a bike, does it really help to pedal at a certain RPM? What about resistance? How many times a week? For how long? There's still a lot of questions, and it's tricky because there isn't one research article that says this is exactly what you should be doing. There's a lot of research articles with a lot of different types of exercise that are all beneficial. That's why it really helps to work with a physical therapist who can help guide you, in terms of what you should be doing for exercise. What do you have access to? Do you have access to pieces of equipment? What is safe for you to do? What do you enjoy doing? How much are you able to push yourself? What else is going on with your health? So there's a lot of factors. Exercise isn't something that you can just cookie cutter say, well, this is exactly what was done in the study. This is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to have the same outcomes, but it still gives us guidance and information. It might be something you want to try for a period of time to see if I really follow what this research study did, do I experience the same type of benefits? Most people are probably still underdosed with regards to their exercise. They're probably not exercising as frequently as they would benefit from. They're not exercising as intensely. There's a lot of potential for people to do and feel better. So this is the article I want to talk about. So when you search something, you're often going to come to PubMed, NIH, National Library of Medicine. Here, full text links, we're going to click on this Sage Journal. And then here we see this little unlocked sign and it says free access. That's exciting because that means that you can access this article for free, the full text, to read it if you want to, or to print it and bring it to your doctors, or to share it with someone or your physical therapist that you're working with. So then we see, okay, PDF is usually the version that you want to get. If you were to print this full article, for one, actually, it doesn't show you the full article. It just shows us the abstract here. And printing this, would be kind of like there's all this other stuff that we don't need to print. So you want to, ideally, there's a PDF version. So here we're going to click where it says PDF, EPUB. This is kind of taking up a lot of space. I don't want to see that. I'm going to click these little arrows to see. And yes, that hides that panel. So then now the article takes up the full screen. We're going to go to the first page and we're going to read the abstract because that does help us kind of get our bearings of what this article means. So background animal studies indicate that forced exercise which they're going to call FE going forward, improves overall motor function in Parkinsonian rodents. Global improvements in motor function following voluntary exercise are not widely reported in human Parkinson's disease patients. So, the objective, the aim of this study was to compare the effects of voluntary exercise and forced exercise on Parkinson's symptoms, motor function, and bimanual dexterity. Methods 10 patients with mild to moderate Parkinson's were randomly assigned to complete 8 weeks of forced exercise or voluntary exercise with the assistance of a trainer. So this is for the forced exercise group. They actually did a tandem bike, and a person who did not have Parkinson's was on the front, person with Parkinson's on the back, person without Parkinson's was setting the pace. So they were helping that person pedal faster than they might otherwise. So, the assistance of a trainer, patients in the forced exercise group pedaled at a rate 30% greater than their preferred voluntary rate, which tended to be between 80 and 90 RPMs, whereas patients in the voluntary exercise group pedaled at their preferred rate. They still had a trainer with them who was coaching them, helping them work hard, but the trainer was like next to them, coaching them, not on a tandem bike with them. Aerobic intensity for both groups was identical. So this was on purpose. They said, we want you to work in this range aerobically because they wanted to match the aerobic intensity so that that wasn't the differentiating factor. They wanted to see, is there going to be a difference if people are forced to pedal faster than what they would choose to do on their own? That's what they wanted to see. Is there a difference here? So they were both all working between 60 and 80% of their individualized training heart rate. Results, aerobic fitness improved for both groups. So that makes sense. They were both doing aerobic exercise, working at that 60 to 80% heart rate max. So it improved for both groups. Following forced exercise, the Unified Parkinson's Disease Rating Scale, UPDRS, motor scores improved 35%, whereas patients completing the voluntary exercise did not exhibit any improvement in the UPDRS. And the UPDRS is the test that is used to measure Parkinson's symptoms. So they're looking at tremor, rigidity, bradykinesia, the specific symptoms of Parkinson's. So the fact that that score improved would, indicate that likely this exercise had an impact on Parkinson's symptoms and improved them. But the voluntary exercise, although it is good for you and improved aerobic capacity, did not exhibit any improvement on the UPDRS. The control and coordination of grasping forces during the performance of a functional bimanual dexterity task improved significantly for patients in the forced exercise group, whereas no changes in motor performance were observed following voluntary exercise. So this is a specific task they had set up that looked at the coordination between the two hands doing a task. And what you could infer from this is that, when you're on a bike pedaling, most of that exercise is your legs. And so if you then see a change in coordination in the hands, you didn't practice that. So there likely is neuroplasticity occurring, and there is a spread of effects from the exercise you're doing with your legs into your brain and then into your upper body and limbs. So there is an effect on more of your body than just the body part that you were really exercising. Let's see. So improvements in clinical measures of rigidity and bradykinesia and biomechanical measures of bimanual dexterity were maintained 4 weeks after forced exercise cessation. So the effects lasted even after they stopped doing the exercise. That's cool. Ideally, you keep exercising though. Conclusions, aerobic fitness can be improved in Parkinson's disease patients following both voluntary and forced exercise interventions. However, only forced exercise results in significant improvements in motor function and bimanual dexterity. Biomechanical data indicate that forced exercise leads to a shift in motor control strategy from feedback to a greater reliance on feed-forward processes, which suggests that forced exercise may be altering central motor control processes or creating positive neuroplasticity. So just reading that abstract alone, to me, is exciting and motivating. So I'm not going to read the whole article because I've already been talking for a little bit. I will share this link if you want to read, highlight the whole thing. But a couple things that I wanted to highlight. I always love reading the introduction to articles. They do a great review of why we're looking at this, what has other research said, why are we doing exactly what we're doing. Highly recommend reading it. Here's the example. So the trainer was on the front, the person with Parkinson's was on the back. This is important, is that the person with Parkinson's was actively pedaling their legs. So although the trainer was setting the pace faster than what this person may have set on their own, they were not just having their legs moved randomly in space. They were actively involved, which is very important. So, having a bike that has a motor that just moves your legs around, that may not work as well as if you are actively participating in the exercise. So the people were active, even though the trainer was assisting them, helping them go faster than what they felt comfortable with. This was a pretty small study, 10 people with idiopathic Parkinson's. The protocol was that people completed 3 1-hour exercise sessions a week for 8 weeks. So if you wanted to try and implement this on your own, that would be kind of the starting point. Each session consisted of a 10-minute warm up, 40-minute exercise set, and a 10-minute cool down. The subjects were given 2 to 5 minute breaks if needed every 10 minutes during the 40-minute main exercise set in the initial 2 weeks of the study, and were encouraged to exercise for 20 minutes at a time with a single break in later sessions. So you don't have to be able to go for an hour straight to get started with this. So the first 2 weeks, you could take 2 to 5 minute breaks every 10 minutes as needed. That's basically like at the 10, 20, 30-minute mark. So 3 times during the 40-minute main exercise session. And then ideally, you're trying to minimize those rest breaks, go for longer. Let's see. And then, yeah, both groups were asked to work at 60 to 80% of their individualized target heart rate. That was calculated based on their age. Both groups were encouraged to increase their heart rate every 2 weeks by 5%. So they started at 60%, then 65, 70, 75%. So the goal was that this exercise was progressively more challenging aerobically over time. The forced exercise group, assisted by a trainer, maintained a pedaling rate between 80 and 90 revolutions per minute, or 30% more than their voluntary rate. The trainer modulated the resistance to ensure patients were actively engaging in the pedaling, which allowed the patients to receive that heart rate. If you are just sitting and your legs are being moved for you, there's a good chance you're not going to get your heart rate up, even if your legs are being moved pretty fast. You have to be participating, and having resistance really helps. Let's see. So then what I want to highlight, so the speed, so what they showed is that kind of like in the 50s or 60s, for most people is the preferred speed when they're on the bike. So the way that we utilize this information is we do try to help people work towards pedaling at 80 to 90 RPMs. And we also just take what their preferred pedaling is and help them set a goal to increase that over time. So some people get on and their preferred pedaling rate might be 30 RPMs. So then we set a goal of getting into the 40s and then into the 50s and then into the 60s. If people are already able to pedal 80 to 90 RPMs, then we bump up that resistance to make sure that it is an appropriate challenge, and then they're also getting their heart rate up as well. So there's many ways that this workout, even though there's kind of a protocol and set goals, this can look very different for different people. And again, like they said, you take rest breaks if needed, you pedal what you can, but the goal is for it to be progressive over time. We also are fortunate, we do have a TheraCycle bike, and that is one of the types of bikes that has a motor and helps people pedal faster. The way that we use that bike is not for an entire workout, but if someone has a hard time pedaling faster, let's say it's 30 or 40 RPMs is kind of their set pace, and we set a goal of 50, and they're just not able to generate that faster pedaling, we will have them go and get on the TheraCycle for a period of time, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, and we'll set that pacing higher than what they feel comfortable with. We don't jump way up. So if they're in the 30s, we might set it for the 40s at first. We don't want it to feel uncomfortable, but we do want to help them go faster. And then if they feel comfortable, we might set it into the 50s or 60s, work our way up. And they'll spend some time on there feeling what it feels like for their legs to move faster. And then we go back over to a regular recumbent stationary bike, and we now have them try to keep pedaling faster. And in many cases, once people get that experience on the TheraCycle, they're then able to follow through on the stationary bike themselves as they're pedaling. We also sometimes just manually help people move their legs faster, but we are really setting goals for increasing those RPMs. In terms of the results now, so both groups did improve their baseline fitness scores. Let's see. Wanted to look here. So in the voluntary group, the UPDRS scores from baseline to after exercise were similar. In the forced exercise group, though, rigidity improved by 41%, tremor improved by 38%, and bradykinesia improved by 28% after the 8 weeks of forced exercise. And then looking at that bimanual task prior to exercise, coupling of grasping forces was irregular and inconsistent in both groups, which is consistent with previous studies that they'd done. Following forced exercise, the grip load profiles were more consistent and increased in a more linear fashion for both limbs. No changes in the coupling of forces were found for the voluntary exercise group. They looked at interlimb coordination, and you can see in this graph here. So this is kind of the task. You're stabilizing and you're manipulating. It's a specific task that they developed. This is the voluntary exercise group. This is the forced exercise group. The straight line is the stabilizing hand. The dotted line is the manipulating hand. And you can see that there was some incoordination here. They don't line up, and that was still present there after exercise. In the first group, it was maybe even less coordinated, but it became much more coordinated after exercise. So some positive neuroplastic changes there. So that is very cool to see. There's more plots here. And then let's see, where do they move into? The discussion is also a helpful section here. That again kind of tries to describe the results that they found that may be somewhat complex to understand and read. There's statistics, there's graphs. Sometimes that's hard to understand unless you yourself are, a doctor or a scientist or a researcher. The discussion is kind of how they explain what we found and what that means in a little bit more plain language to help it be understandable to a wider audience. So I would highly recommend reading this article. The take-homes for me are, for some people, they might want to say, I want to really adhere to the protocol of a research study and try that for a period of time and see how much improvement I experience. So instead of maybe for a period of time, depending on what different things you've been doing for aerobic exercise, maybe you stick with one thing for a while, because maybe one of the beneficial factors is doing something consistently. Variety is good for our brain, absolutely, but so is consistency. And so, you don't have to commit to doing one thing forever, but maybe you say for the next 8 weeks, I'm going to really focus on doing the bike for exercise, getting my RPMs up, then increasing my resistance. I want to see how much I improve. I might do an assessment for myself, like the Pro PD before or after, or measure something else. Maybe do, spiral drawing or handwriting to see if that's something that can improve. You could assess yourself. So that's one take home. The other take home for therapists and for people with Parkinson's is whatever your comfortable pace is on a bike. If you use it for exercise, let's try to increase that by 30%. If you need some assistance or help with that, ask someone, see if they can help you out, whether it's manually or if you can get access to something like a TheraCycle to help get those legs going faster. A lot of times people are used to using heavier resistance and going slower. When it comes to the Parkinson's research, we may want to decrease that resistance, at least initially, to get those speeds up faster. And then once you get the speeds faster, then we want to add that resistance back in. And this is a study I bring up quite a bit when people who have tremor ask me about exercise. There are multiple research studies that show that exercise can help with tremor. Tremor can be a tricky symptom sometimes. Sometimes that does not respond to medication or other treatments as effectively, as well as some other symptoms like rigidity or bradykinesia. And this is one of the studies that looked at tremor specifically. I think this is a worthwhile endeavor to try to follow this study and see if this is a treatment that helps with your tremor directly. We don't 100% know the mechanism, but like they said, there are changes in motor control processes. So it's pretty cool to see that type of improvement. So many take homes, really wonderful study that was published many years ago that we want to highlight and help people know about this type of research, know that it exists, be able to implement that into the real world, and benefit from it. So if you have any questions about this article, feel free to email me at claire@roguept.com. Feel free to put a comment under this video. I will do my best to get back to you. We implement this research both in our in-person gym here in Fountain Valley, California, in Orange County. If you're interested in coming in and exercising with us, you can give us a call at 714-276-3992. We'll make an appointment for you to have a consultation. If you are not local here in Orange County, but you would like to exercise with us, we implement this research in our online membership as well. We do a cardio class where we are on equipment, bikes, and treadmills. We help coach you and let you know this is what the research says. We're going to pedal faster. We're going to slow down. We're going to do a hill. We're going to keep our heart rate up. Really trying to implement this and other research into our membership. If you are interested in exercising with us online, the membership is at rogueinmotion.com. And you can sign up there, get a week free trial, and then continue to exercise with us and experience the benefits. So it's great to share this research with all of you. For all of you who are members and exercising with us now, thank you for spending your time with us and allowing us to help you do forced exercise and push yourself to do more than you feel comfortable with. And I hope we get to exercise with more of you. Happy Parkinson's Awareness Month. I hope you get to spread awareness, help others learn about Parkinson's. The more that people are aware, the better treatment is going to be, the better research is going to be. There's a lot of work to be done, but when we raise awareness, more of that work can be done. I'll see you all next time.